Welcome, everyone, to Be the Vessel. My name is Daniel, and on this episode, I'm going to speak to feelings. Not necessarily the wide spectrum of feelings or emotional content or emotion energy, but what it means to be in the feelings consciousness as is described in some spiritual frameworks. To bring awareness, if on one level awareness is what you are, if awareness, really underneath awareness, we might say you're sort of light source consciousness or God, spirit, child of spirit, but your ability to experience in this life is the awareness itself. And from that awareness, you can experience mind, you can experience body. And most of us, we stay in sort of that mind level consciousness. As I spoke to on another episode, we mostly stay in thinking. A lot of how we experience, not just experience, but perceive and interpret the world is through thinking. But there are many other ways to experience life, existence, being. And another primary and vital way to experience is through feeling. And one way to focus that energy is in the heart space, the heart chakra, you might say, the energy source around the heart. You know, there's a lot of metaphors for the heart, right? You can have your heart broken, you can have it burdened, you can have it filled with joy, you can have it sing. And there's a lot of truth to that. Now, when we're speaking to that, it's not necessarily just like the physical organ, but the energy of the heart space. In your energetic being, the energy around here supports more of the feelings. Now, the interpretation and meaning making can happen in the thinking, but there is a deeper sense of authenticity and knowing in the heart space. There's access to more intuitive wisdom regarding who you really are in this human life, at least on one level. Peeling back the thinking and moving your awareness down into the heart space moves you a bit closer to your truth. Because the emotion energies you carry and the feeling states you carry speak more authentically to where you are in the present. You see, being in the feelings consciousness is always present focused, and all healing, all of life happens in the present. Thinking can take you into past and present, so past and future. So with mind, you can be all over the place and you can be very far away from how you truly are, what you truly are, where you truly are. And so to come down to the feelings consciousness, to the heart space, there is always the opportunity to become present again, to touch presence. And in doing so, you may come up against various emotion energies. Now, emotion energies are not necessarily who you are, though they are valuable in the sense of learning what is showing up to be with and to move through. And in terms of more negative and toxic emotion energies like fear and anger, there's no fear in the heart. There's no anger in the heart space. Those are, we can think of those as more blockages to the heart. Those rely more, those are more a function of the survival mechanism, the nervous system triggered by the amygdala. You know, when we think of trauma, when trauma happens, it's the amygdala that fires up and responds to danger and threat, signals the stress response, and boom, You're in fight or flight. And the emotion energies that form around that are primal fear and anger, very basic survival mechanism emotions. Uh, Almost like there should almost be a different word for it. They're different types. They're more survival based emotions. The feelings in your heart, your true heart, when we have access to it, the vulnerability of it, there's joy, there's courage, there's love. And there can also be sadness, right? There can be grief. The heart can break. But to be with that, there's a gentleness, there's a softening. It's not about needing to survive. It's not about needing to fight or to flee. Accessing the true heart space, the true heart wisdom, is really about opening, about being with what's there, what we're really carrying, rather than sort of the protections around the heart, which we can work to, almost like scar tissue, which we can work to loosen up and find our way through to the meat of what we're meant to be with. And then, there's many layers to this journey. So those emotion experiences are not necessarily the core truth of what we are, but they're closer to it. The states of love and gratitude, those are higher states of consciousness, you might say, compared to the lower negative toxic energies that really bring us down. And if there's grief and loss, we can be with that too. That's important too. It's important for us to be with and to move through. We can ride it like the waves that they are, and we can be the ocean. When we try to protect against it and grit our teeth, and that's when the protections of fear and anger and defensiveness show up, and all kinds of symptoms in the body. Really getting to the root of healing in many ways is exposing the heart place and allowing ourselves to be with it, to release it, whether that shows up in tears or other forms of body expression, vocalization, visions. With breath, we can really feel our awareness moving down from the head space to the heart space. So almost like if you were to have two eyes peering out of the heart, you would be experiencing reality from here rather than from here. The vision turns inward and experiences from this area of being. And when we do that, our pacing, our experience naturally starts to change. The rhythm that we experience life, the heartbeat slows, because thinking is really what speeds things up. Thinking gets in the way and starts to act at a less natural pace, way too fast, trying to beat life to the finish line, trying to succeed at goals that are not really true to your integrity and intention, but based on conditioned societal values. When we come down to the heart place and the heart rhythm, we start to align more with the heart of the natural world, so to speak, the rhythm of the trees and the plants. And there's actually a lot of studies around heart-brain coherence. When we come into the feelings consciousness, we activate the parasympathetic and the vagus nerve, because there's a vagal nerve connecting heart and brain. I believe it's the vagus, at least. And when we activate that, when there's alignment in the neural pathways in the brain to the rhythms of the heart, we come into this coherent state, is what many refer to it as. A state of being that allows more access to our intuitive wisdom. And I'll likely speak later to the nature of intuition and all that really involves. But one way of understanding intuitive wisdom, is moving from less of the illusion of thinking, and all of that involves, and all that thinking sort of mucks up and distorts, into a more truer, authentic space that allows access to how we are really feeling in this moment. And when we gain access to how we are really feeling, there's an expansion of information, of wisdom, of knowing about ourselves, knowing about others in the world, because the heart space picks up, we're able to feel into not just our energetic body, but the energetic bodies of others. So there's this energetic intuition that's flowing. It's always accessing and assessing the current environment instead of being, and it moves to the non-local. By non-local, I mean, across time and space, we can know things about the world. We can know things about who we are and where we're going in life and what's meant for us. So all of this can be accessed in the feeling space, and then there's other places to go from there. There's up through the crown to higher states of awareness, to the higher self, even closer to spirit, so to speak. But a beautiful place to start is in the feeling space, because in the feeling space is where we start to gain access to all of the emotion energies that are aligned more more authentically with where we're at. And if you're weighing on and feeling conflicted by certain decisions in life, unsure of where to go, or even just how to spend your time in a given moment, coming into the feelings place will naturally begin to slow you down and reveal answers to you with a deeper sense of knowing, without the conflict and tension and doubt. There's no doubt in the heart space. Doubt only exists in the thinking mind because it can't really tell what's true or false. The heart knows what's true. The heart knows what's true. So from this place, from this heart space, we can begin to understand in a deeper level of knowing, a deeper level of truth, with peacefulness, with bliss. In this state of peacefulness and bliss is when true knowing arises, and when we can begin to cultivate our energetic home, our sense of what feels right to us, your true north, your compass that directs you in alignment in all decisions in your life. This is really the space you want to have within you to make all decisions, big and small, from what you should eat that day to where you should move, to what you should pursue in your career, clearly to romantic partners and friendships and relationships of any kind. It's the heart space that is going to lead you true. It's the thinking that will lead you astray. People say trust your gut, and we can speak to that as well. There's a lot of wisdom in the gut space, and actually a lot of the conditioning in the gut as we get closer to the root. That's where a lot of the fear conditioning is, and it's actually linked back up to the brain. There's this link between brain and gut, which you may have heard about or read about. It's why there's so many stomach issues. And there's actually a lot of neurotransmitters in the gut as well as the heart. So both need healing blockages around the heart, and then healing that takes place in that lower gut and root area. But a beautiful place to start on this journey of moving down from thinking and moving into more intuitive and natural rhythms of knowing is to practice coming down into the heart space. And you can do this in meditation. You can do this with breath. Maybe I'll do an episode, an experiential episode demonstrating this, a heart space meditation. But for now, just consider that as you're going through your day, as you're going through your life, you might find yourself asking, what would the heart do at this time? Or what does the heart have to share with me? Ask it. Ask your heart. It may sound silly, but see what happens. You may get an answer, you may get a vision, it may bring you out of the thinking and closer to the true presence of life, a truer reality. You may begin to know things with more ease and grace, without such doubt and conflict and hesitation and fear in the mind. Life can operate at a more graceful pacing and level. This is the value of the heart space. And when we speak to trauma, we speak to all the blockages that surround the heart. So a lot of the journey to get to the heart space is clearing the blockages in its way. And so if you practice coming down into the heart space in meditation, for example, what you'll begin to experience may be the blockages first. And that's okay. When you start to gain access to that, there's a gentleness, a softness to it. Healing can happen at a more organic rhythm. It's really when we're stuck in the thinking that we're chasing and striving and gritting our teeth and working so hard to heal, but we can't really see what's there. So it's a lot of guesswork. And a lot of that in traditional psychotherapies are based in using our thinking minds. So it's a lot of guesswork. Practicing coming down to the heart space is like a shortcut, a much quicker way to access what's there, what's ready to be released. And again, there's many layers to this game, but the heart will always reveal what's there now, what's ready now to be seen, to be held, to be released. And this can go to a deeper place too. With practice, you can begin to, sometimes without practice, I've worked with clients where from the heart space, ancestral memories emerge, past life memories emerge, karmic inheritance. And this is all stored in what you might refer to as the energetic DNA. It's not literally the epigenetics of your human body, but your energetic body. And around the heart, the energetic space around the heart can provide access to this. Can also provide access to where you're meant to go. The brave vision for your life that your heart knows of what you're really wanting to cultivate. The vision that your thinking might not allow you to see or go toward because it's too scary. It's hidden behind walls of fear and shame. But the heart records all this, has access to all of it, to the highest vibrational state that's meant for you. So consider this as a simple way to practice and go toward your truest and highest vibrational life. To get in touch with who you really are and what you came here to do. The thinking won't help you with that. The heart space will. So practice, just practice. If you have a meditation practice or a breathwork practice, just breathe in. Put your hand over your heart and just bring your awareness down to the heart and begin to ask it yes or no questions. Is there something for me to be with today? Is there an emotion that I'm meant to witness at this moment? Questions like that. And then you can begin to ask more open-ended questions. What am I meant to see? You can, and as you get deeper into this practice, you can even ask things like, is this mine? Or is it an ancestral piece that I've been carrying? You may get blockages first that the heart reveals to you, though over time, or maybe right away, you may get really bright visions. seeing yourself as you truly are, whole, as you want to be seen. And you can be filled up with the energy, the consciousness of these feelings. And what happens in that feeling space is it begins to rewire the brain. It begins to rewire the thinking. And then the thinking mind can take information from the heart rather than vice versa. The heart can be sending more information to the brain, which it already does, where we just don't always recognize it that way. We block off access to the heart. It's a little too scary and vulnerable. But if we start to be led by the heart in the present and allow those feelings to drive us, then what happens is our life becomes more dictated by those higher states. If we can live in those states of love and grace and gratitude more often, our personal reality begins to perceive that. It begins to perceive from the state of feeling and actually create and manifest from this state of feeling. When we manifest from our thinking, thoughts are powerful too, but when we manifest from our thinking, there's a lot of doubt and fear and conditioned and limiting beliefs that we're not really wanting to dictate how we see the world. If our world is created by thought alone, a lot of our thoughts are not great. They're painful, they're limiting, they're punishing. So to come more into the feeling state, and to be with and move through the waves of emotion that no longer serve us, we gain more access to those higher emotional states, those states that do serve us, that fill us up, that create that energetic home of bliss where we want to live and be in, and can surprise ourselves at how much of our life can be actually lived in that state. And therefore, everything, our conditioned mind, the beliefs and the thinking begin to change and align with this, because that becomes our reality. The feelings, consciousness, the state of love that we can be in the heart space, it becomes our personal reality and actually then becomes our personality. This is a lot of what Joe Dispenza would speak to as we engage in that feeling state. And sometimes it's best to engage in it, as he would speak to, in a deeper meditative state, like accessing more of the theta brainwave to access that coherence. But it can be a bit simpler than that. You don't necessarily need to be in the deepest meditative state to come down to the heart. Just start by acknowledging it, bringing your hand to it, bringing your awareness to it. Acknowledging it, acknowledging this part of you. And over time, it will begin to speak. It likely has a lot to say if you have not been listening. And then there's, as I spoke to, moving down to the gut and the root, which is a lot more of where the child self lives. The more childlike parts of us that have been conditioned and are needing to show us things for us to be with. Those may be a lot of the blockages in your way, a lot of the fear absorbed as a child or from earlier. Just begin to practice. Just begin to practice coming down into that heart space and allowing yourself to live from that space. It may feel uncomfortable at first because you're so used to the thinking. The thinking dictates so much of who you think you are and how you think you should be. So it may feel a little alien, a little bit foreign to be in the heart space, but actually it's much truer to your natural state. And over time, your life will begin to align more peacefully, more blissfully. And that may feel alien because most of us do not understand relaxation. We're more wired for anxiety. Anxiety is actually a more comfortable place, even though it's not pleasant. So to practice coming into the heart space is really to practice relaxation, to practice being with the emotion energies in a more natural rhythm, not having to interpret them away or fix them or resolve them, just to be with them, allow them to release, to open the heart, and ultimately to allow it to sing, to walk the path, and for us to simply follow the heart, they say. It will always lead you true. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.